Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. It's the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. Subscribe, like, share, all of those things that we normally talk about. Um, in Louisville this afternoon, there was a press conference with various leaders talking about gun violence and putting an end to gun violence. It's always somebody's family member. Every time there's a shooting, a killing, it's somebody's family member. Every time there's a shooting, it's somebody's family member. There's a family of the victim and there's a family of the shooter. And this time it was Kemetic King's family member. So it's our family member. Welcome, King.
Appreciate you having me on, Barry.
Man, I'm glad I wish it was under different circumstances. We were supposed to talk last night for an EAR meeting and about economics, and we had to postpone that. Would share what you would like about why we had to postpone that.
Well, just with the maze of trying to obtain some wealth and make it out of the middle class, an incident happened where one of my not really close, but it's one of my first cousins. Um, they got shot in the face, and I guess there's a lot about that side of the family that I didn't know. I knew, but I didn't know. You know how you
Yeah,
think you know, but
yeah, I
you
know.
don't know how
Yeah,
deep it is. So apparently, that side of the family is real deep into gangs, drugs, and just a lot of nefarious activities. So I don't know what the situation was. All I know is I got wind from my parents that he got shot in the face, and he got shot in the leg. Then I hear today that you know what? No, I'm not. I'm not even gonna. I'm not even gonna put that
that's
on the
fine.
air.
That's fine. That's fine. That's
Um,
fine.
but I wanted to bring this to the show because I think it's time that we, as a community, um, black people,
Yeah.
because I don't really think it's nobody else's business but black people. And since you have a large, black audience,
Yes.
I think it would behoove us to have a real serious conversation about this black on black crime.
Okay.
Um, we can act like it's not that big of a problem, but in my opinion, this has grown larger than a white supremacy issue. Um, and this is just my opinion.
That's fine.
A lot of people may not like it, but we really have to observe. And I'm on the ground. I'm in the west end of Louisville, 2 out of 7 days out of the week. I see what goes on. I used to, hang around the projects a lot because I didn't grow up in the projects. I grew up in the middle class. But obviously, I had my mom. She grew up in the projects. She made it out. All my family members, they're still in the projects. I have, ex girlfriends that, they lived in the projects. So
Yeah.
I'm very well versed in the streets. Don't let this proper English and the way I dress um, fool you. Yeah, I'm very well versed in the streets. So I think,
It's not a way of fooling people. It's a way of reaching people. I just want to throw that out there, man.
yeah, but I think a lot of people tend to say, "Well, what does he know about the streets?" I know a lot about the streets,
I
and
got you. Go
I
ahead.
was about
Yeah.
I was about a few inches away from being a part of a gang. So
Yeah.
I know a lot about the streets, but I decided to go the opposite direction. But the incident with my cousin, that wasn't even what started it because over in 2020, I lost about 10 classmates. These are people I graduated with. So these are people that were 28, 29, 30 years old. And I lost 75% of them to gun violence in the same area, one
Wow.
town, West Louisville.
Yeah.
So this isn't isolated incidents. This isn't um, a small issue. This is a very large issue, and I think this is one of the largest issue that's plaguing our community. And I think it's time we have a serious conversation about what we need to do.
You know what? You mentioned that you felt that uh, the violence that's going on within the Black community is a bigger issue than white supremacy. And on the surface, that made me sit back and think, no. But then I started, as you were talking, and I was listening, but it's still, I'm processing numbers, and I'm thinking there has to be a much larger death toll, if you will, from community members killing other community members.
Absolutely, and that's what I mean. I don't mean on a bigger picture. I don't mean on a a macro level. I mean on a micro level. Black on black crime is a much larger issue than a white. Put it this way: I here lately fear getting killed by somebody that looks like me more than I fear a white supremacist killing me. And
Okay.
those numbers tell that same story too.
And that makes a statement, man, because you're in Louisville, Kentucky.
And
And
I'm in the West End.
yeah, and the Klan in southern Indiana and Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean, there's a massive history there. So being, bless you, brother. Yeah. That's a huge statement.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, black people, they're not gonna like it because I hate it when you had these so-called Republicans, or we would call them Sambos or coons. We would say, you just pushing that same type of ideology that white supremacy doesn't exist and black on black crime is something that's self all this craziness. But a lot of it is true. We just don't want to come to the grips that we have a problem, a very, very big problem, and a problem that can't wait. Like this problem is bigger than our economical problem, in my opinion. In my
Yeah.
opinion, we have to first clean our neighborhoods up of crime before we can talk about economics. Now, economics will definitely help rid crime, but it's a pandemic right now, and I'm not talking about pandemic COVID. I'm talking about it's a pandemic on black males killing black males, and in Louisville, it's a war. And when I say a war, I don't mean a light war. Like it is every day retaliation, multiple shootings in the same neighborhood,
And it's happening in Indianapolis too, my friend.
and it's happening in Atlanta. It's happening in all your large metropolitan cities.
St. Louis.
Exactly. So at some point, it and see what really did it for me is when the kids started getting hit with bullets.
Yeah.
Just the other day, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, um, and I don't know how old the other child was. Somebody pulled up on their car and shot inside the car, thinking it was somebody else. So not only did they just kind of ignore who they were shooting at, they shot at children. And that same day, I think it was, I don't know the age. I'm not even going to guess, but he was under 10 years old. He got hit with a straight bullet. Now, all of these children survived, but I mean, earlier in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, you had cases in Louisville where the kids didn't survive. So our children are dying and being injured because these idiots, I'm calling them idiots, irresponsible gun owners, are running around and just blindly shooting into buildings and houses and cars. So, I mean, I think it's time that we really talk about what can we do nationwide because we can't depend on the government to do it. The city of Louisville probably loves the idea that we are killing ourselves down there. That's why they haven't done anything. Because let me ask you a question, Barry, and I want you to answer this. If this was happening in a prominent white neighborhood, what do you think the government would do?
They would come in and do everything they could to stop it.
Who would they send in?
If this kind of violence was going on in a white neighborhood, they would send in Probably federal marshals
or the National Guard,
or
right?
or military. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I have a neighborhood that has a murder, it's averaging a murder per day, at least one, and we have multiple shootings every day. Why haven't we sent in the National Guard? Why haven't we done anything outside the box? It's just like they're waiting.
Because, yeah, the reason is, and I'm going to keep it 100% real, because of the pigment of the skin.
Exactly. We're not valued. So, um, with that being said, and you guys, I'm not crying. I promise. It's my
Yeah,
allergies.
and I'm saying it, not that I agree with it. I'm saying it because it's obvious it's the pigment of the skin. It's not because I support it. I want to make that clear too.
No, Barry, I was talking about people probably think I've been crying. I'm like, no, I've been crying. My allergies have been
Oh
kicking.
no, yeah, I know. Yeah, you got some allergy problems, and uh, I can relate to that. Thankfully, it's not happening to me at the moment. But
Yeah. But I think um, we have to come up with a solution because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it for us. And I've been saying that nobody's going to fix our problems. Only we can fix our problems. But it's time that we say, hey, white supremacy is a problem, but a black man killing another black man is a real big problem.
let's 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 talk here for just a second. Is it lack of respect of human life? Is it lack of understanding? Is it lack of hope? Is it all of the above? Lack of opportunities?
It's
What,
all the
what's
above.
at the root of this? What is at the root of this?
The root of this, and I talked about this on an earlier episode, the root of this is poverty. Anywhere that there's poverty, there's going to be crime. But it's intensified because you also have people that don't value themselves. You also have no opportunities. If you've been to West Louisville, the only thing down there is liquor stores. There's not even strip clubs down there. There's liquor stores, grocery stores, and that's about it. Okay,
I
there's
was I
dispensaries.
was told I was told every time I'd come to the square and I would say I was going to go down. I said I was going to go down to the park where um, Grandmaster Jay and NFAC had set up to do the initial march in Louisville when the gunshots went off, and I was told no, don't go any farther west, and these were by members of the black community. Don't go any farther west than Breonna Taylor Park.
That's true, but then that's not true because people like to paint the West End as this horrible place to go, but it's actually not. Um,
And that's kind of what that's kind of why I said that, because I want to get the truth out.
Because the truth is, if you don't mess with anybody during the day, night, whole nother ball game. Okay, that's when
Freaks come out at night.
the goblins, the goons of goblins come out at night. So during the daytime, during the morning time, you don't have anything to worry about. You can do whatever business you need to do in the West End and not be bothered as long as you're respectful. Um, but at night, no, nobody, not even citizens of the West End want to be outside past nightfall. And like I said, it reminds me of a Middle Eastern city. One of these Middle Eastern cities. And literally, I shit you not. Without the bombs, it reminds me of a city that you would see in the Middle East, where you have two different religious groups, or you have just two groups that are at war with each other. It's this constant flow of violence. And
So
I wanted
basically,
to
if
talk about some of the solutions.
you live in that area of town, your
Go
head's
ahead.
always on a swivel.
Always on a swivel. I spend at least 24 hours a week, and when I go down there to work, I carry my gun. I carry an extra clip. I almost got to where I was gonna wear a vest. Um, so it's serious business. I shouldn't have to carry a gun just to go down to the West End. Now I carry my gun everywhere now, just because um, you know, I'm a part of a gun club first of all, so you know, they teach you to carry a gun wherever you go, anyways, because anything can happen anywhere. But I would like to not have to carry a gun if I'm working. Like I would like to have to, you know, I would like to feel comfortable enough to where I don't have to carry anything and I don't have to be on the lookout. And it's so bad that I don't even want to have a confrontation with anybody. Like if somebody does something rude, if somebody bumps into me, I just ignore it because I know, first of all, I'm a hothead. Okay. Um, but more importantly, I know I don't want to have to kill one of my brothers because I know if it gets taken there, there's no stepping back. Like it's gonna be one of those, you touch me, I'm not even gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna pull out my gun and I'm gonna shoot you. So it's a war zone down there. And I think the only thing that can be done in each city is we really have to band together. We have to pull our resources together. And this is gonna really come into when once we finish up the economics classes that we've been doing, is we have to pull our resources together and we have to create our own cities. So I think the West End of Louisville should have its own government, its own police department, private police department. It should have its own everything. We have towns called like we got Jefferson Town, we got Hurstbourne Acre. We got all these different towns. And they have their own municipalities, their own fire
Mhm.
departments, own police departments. The West End needs that, and there's money down there. So um, it's just I don't know, Barry. It's really upsetting me, and it's really it's getting me to the point now where I'm wanting to shift my focus,
Yeah.
and the focus is starting to shift towards okay. I know we were supposed to be fighting white supremacy, and we were supposed to be fighting all these um, racist or racist structural issues, but I'm like, this is as fundamental as it gets, and it's just like we can't wait another year
Right.
to have this
Right.
problem fixed.
Yeah.
It is terrible right now.
And you use the micro macro analogy. This is something that needs to be fixed community by community within the community, if I'm hearing you right.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And you know, I can't blame my brothers and sisters. I can, but I can't because I know that this was systematically done.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
like my man T Rex always says, the crack epidemic was, you know, structured to pretty much tear apart the black community, along with a lot of other programs that was funded by the government. So I know the government's end goal was what you see right now. This is the finished product that is spitting out on the assembly line. But what I want my people to do, my black people to do, my brothers and my sisters, we have to focus on this problem. We have to put the blinders on, and we have to address this problem before we address any other problem. Just like, for example, and this is what pisses me off about my city. Saturday they're doing a protest because it marks the year that Breonna Taylor was killed.
Right.
I'm like, why are you protesting something that happened a year ago when a baby just got shot 2 days ago? Our priorities are mixed up. Instead of protesting that, why don't we go down to City Hall and protest that, hey, we're not getting enough funds to the West End to be able to protect the citizens of the West End. We don't have enough resources in the West End. We don't have enough jobs. Protest that. So it's just frustrating, and it's you know it it just makes you just wonder. It's just like, what else can I do? Because you got all these people moving in all these different directions, and I'm like, we need to be on one accord, and we need to do this one thing, and then we can move to the next. So I don't know, Barry. It's just extremely frustrating. So when I heard that my cousin had been shot in the face, he lived, but I was just like, when is this shit gonna stop?
Yeah. Is there a way to get to members, to get to the uh to get to those kids that aren't in gangs, that want a different way? Is there some way to reach those kids? And is there some, they all have gifts, they all have talents, they all have skills. They're probably all pretty intelligent under the right circumstances. Um, it just seems like there should be some way of reaching them to reach those that are actually doing the killing through their peers, if you will. Or is that just, I don't know. Is that a possibility?
I think at this point, it's so far gone. The only thing that's going to help these younger gang members or these younger, uh, the younger generation is whoever they look up to. Whoever they look up to, they're gonna have to call, ceasefires. They're gonna have to, have treaties. It has to become a point to where the goons and the goblins decide that they want to stop the violence. Nobody else is going to be able to step in except for because they look up to these people. When you talk about these 13, 14, 15-year-old, just like earlier last year, I had one of my cousins in the West End. She committed suicide. She shot herself in the head, and she was in that street life, and she shot herself in the head because the what are they called? The fugitive task force. They found where she was staying at, and they pretty much,
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, I remember that.
yeah. That was my cousin. That was another
Oh
one.
my gosh, I covered that story.
Yeah, that was my cousin. And
Oh wow, small world.
very small world. So
Whoa.
it's like nobody could help her. And, at the end of the day, the only people that could help her was the people that she looked up to. And the people that she looked up to were the ones that was leading these gangs, leading these, drug organizations, and, pretty much leading the streets. So, no, I don't think there's any hope for those. I think the only hope that we have is that either A, we clean up the streets and we decide to do what the Panthers did and police the streets and, you know, either put these people in jail or um, kick them out of the neighborhood. That's going to be a task in itself. Or we're going to have to let it run its course and them kill themselves off. And we really have to get a hold of the younger generation. So I'm talking about your 8, 9, 10-year olds. Get a
Is
hold
that
of them.
even young enough?
It's really not because I've seen as young as 7. Okay, 7-year olds having guns and knowing how to use them.
Yeah, that's the only reason I asked is because I get reports of stuff, 10-year-old gang banging.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know,
So it's either the streets get a hold of them or it's we get a hold of them. So I think we only have 2 options because we know the government, especially Jefferson County, they're not going to step in. They're going to let us continue to kill ourselves. They're going to sit back and they're going to laugh and they're going to say, "See, we did good." So
you know what? This just came to mind. Various factions, various groups are always picking at each other, you know. Um, wouldn't it be wouldn't it be the most optimal thing on a national level for like Grandmaster Jay and the Honorable Crystal Muhammad and these all of these leaders to just set their scraps aside their and focus on being role models for these individuals and telling them to stop?
out of respect for my community, I'm not really going to speak on that group and that side. Um,
And I'm just throwing it out there as
yeah, I know. I'm not
part.
going to speak
I
on
don't
that.
mean any
I know a lot of
disrespect to
people.
anybody.
I
It just
know a
pains
lot of
me,
people.
man.
They like to air black people's dirty laundry. So I'm not going to speak on that. But what I will say is what Grandmaster Jay is doing, what the new Black Panther Party is doing, the new Panther Party for Self Defense. All these groups, they're doing what we need to mimic around the country. They are doing it. And what I will say is, if we can normalize that, I think that will make a very, very big difference on this fundamental issue such as black on black crime. So I don't know about the beefs or none of that. All I know is what they're doing and what all these different self defense parties and whatever you want to call them,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so many different terms you can use. These gun clubs, these self defense parties, whatever they're doing, that, in my opinion, is one of the solutions. So I think normalizing that around the country is going to be important, and I think making sure that we shut out all these coons. That's kind of like, and now I will talk on what's his name, teacup guy,
Teacup guy.
the Moore guy.
Oh,
TV.
Caraca Bay.
He's a poison to our community.
He doesn't seem to promote much unity.
He's divisive. So if as long as we can shut people out that's like him, the divisive people, and unite, because that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, I don't care what else is going on. The most important thing is that we have to unite, and we have to be united on on a front line type of level. And I think if the country sees us unite and unified, that speaks volume. If they see us infighting, then they look at us as a group.
It does
doesn't really deserve.
It does speak volumes, and I'm going to talk on a national level now, because right at the moment, according to polls, there's about 30% of white people that believe that George Floyd was murdered. Okay. And there's a larger percent that believes it was wrong what happened to him, but they wouldn't call it murder. All right. You take just that 30% of white people and you put them with a united Black community, and you put them with other communities of color, you're going to get other white people that start coming along when they see this, and suddenly you've got a big political movement, and you got the power to actually make changes, whether it be peaceful or.
I go back and forth with that, with working with other groups, and I'm gonna tell you the reason. It's because of the history.
I totally understand that. I'm just talking about numbers. I'm just talking about making radical changes in the United States and how it could happen.
It could happen.
The two political parties.
I think you leave yourself open for attacks that way if you let all these other different groups join you in the fight. I think, and this is what I've kind of come to. Like I said, I go back and forth with this.
Hold on just a second. Let me say this. I'm talking down the road. Right at the moment, there's no way any of that can happen. There's no way none of that could happen right now.
Yeah,
the fight you're talking about has to be done by your community.
Right. Okay. So yeah, down the road, absolutely. Down the road, I think that's the end result, is to unite the country.
Yeah.
The world.
Yeah.
That's a big if.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely agree that us unifying as a whole, as a human race, is the end result. But I think as of right now, I don't think we can allow any outsiders. So like I applaud Grandmaster Jay for having a black
I totally understand why he does it.
Because at the end of the day, it's like nobody is going to want good and greatness for your group except for your group. If I have a house and you have a house, and both of our houses are messed up, are you going to want my house to get renovated first, or are you going to want your house to get renovated first?
I don't know. I'm one of those people, I like to see everybody taken care of. So I'd probably go over and help you with your house, and then you'd come help me with mine.
But what if the government said there's this pile of money, only one of you can get it? Would you give that pile of money away to have your neighbor's house renovated before you had yours renovated? And let's say you needed all the basic necessities. You needed running water.
Oh,
you needed
dude,
electricity.
Dude, my gas got cut off today. And that's 100% for real, and it's because I neglected to pay.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, you do realize you're the anomaly, right?
Yeah, I do.
and that's
Yeah,
why you're doing that.
and the more I talk and the more my audience grows, the more I realize
Yeah, you're a
that
three-headed dragon to other white people.
I
I'm like,
might be
what?
a unique cat, you know?
Right, and I can understand why. I forgot who you said um, told you that you had a pro-black channel, and I can see why they said it was pro-black because I mean, you want to see the black race moved in the right direction. So you're very unique. But I'm telling you, most of your people, they in a heartbeat. As a matter of fact, if their house was already renovated and their
They
neighbor's
still
house
take the pile of money.
they still take the money. So that's the sentiment around most white people in this country, unfortunately. And that's why I say,
Oh, there's got to be a bunch of change on the white side. Man, there's got to be radical change on the white side.
and guess who can't worry about helping that change? Black people. We can't worry about that.
No,
Like
no.
that's I always tell people, I'm like, that's your problem. If you got a problem with black people, that's your problem. You need to get help. You need to go fix whatever problems you have with my people. Because at the end of the day, we got enough shit going on in our community. We don't have time to worry about what's going on in your community or why your community doesn't like my community.
And
So
and you know what I say? I say the best thing white people can do is get the fuck out of the way.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, Barry. So that's what's been going on down here.
All right.
Saturday, I'm going to be working downtown, so I'm going to be working in the middle of this shit.
Saturday, you're gonna be working downtown?
I'm gonna be in the middle of this shit with Breonna Taylor, which
I thought about coming down. Honestly, I thought about coming down doing a live.
come down. I'll meet up with you.
Well, yeah, you know that, man. Yeah.
But the way I feel about what's going on Saturday, it's cool and all, but I'm like, what about the 2-year-old that got killed last year? What about the 7-year-old that got shot a few days ago? What about what about?
Yeah.
Okay, we're focusing on this one thing, and we're focusing on it because the police did this. But what about all of the shit that our people are
You're doing
doing
to
to
yourself.
our people?
Yeah.
What about that? Are we not going to protest that and go at just as hard? If not, we need to be going harder for that shit because
That's a
these
good point, man.
these police shootings, you know, on black people, especially in Louisville, this doesn't happen that often. I mean, how many times have you heard about a black person being killed by a cop in Louisville?
Um,
Not a lot.
Not a lot. No.
Why aren't these other stories and incidences where children are getting killed by black men? Why my thing is, if we're going to protest, let's
That's
about
strong.
protest about something that's happening every day. Breonna Taylor, that happened a year ago. God rest her soul. We've done all we can do up until this point as far as protesting. Because protesting, I don't even think protesting works that much. Okay.
Do you think do you think they try to keep the Breonna Taylor movement going as a representative of what's happening today? Or is it just because it drew so much worldwide attention they don't want to let it go? Because
I don't know.
you make strong points. You ought to be protesting about what's going on in the West End now.
Right, right. And I don't know why they're still protesting about it in that fashion. I understand protesting, but put the picket signs down and let's go demand some changes. Within the state government, the legislature. Let's go change some laws there because at the end of the day, they want us to protest because protesting, it doesn't show any types of aggression. Um, Even looting, they don't care if we loot. They're not afraid of that. What they are afraid of is us banding together and trying to get majority hold in the legislation or having a body, a political black caucus running for the mayor or running for all these seats
Which needs to
in
be
government.
done everywhere.
That's scary. So instead of going down here Saturday protesting, let's strategize on how we can take over the political side of
Absolutely.
Louisville. It, I don't know. I just think it's just a lot of wasted effort on something that can we can be doing activities that will improve the conditions of black people in Louisville other than protesting. But that's just my opinion. I just and I've never been down there to
And
protest.
both things can be done. Both things can be done. There, you can still focus. I mean, there's a group that has been having some kind of some kind of activity, whether it be a march or whatever, every single day for like almost 300 days now, 200 and some days,
Right. Right.
and but that's a small group compared to the entire Black population of Louisville. There's enough people to be doing both.
Right. Exactly.
And
And
maybe,
that's why
maybe our talk helps put the focus on, and maybe, man, I would be honored and blessed if what we talk about tonight moves into action in Louisville, that people
yeah,
go,
inspired.
what King is saying
Because
is right, because it is.
some people that ask, well, James, why aren't you doing that? I'm like, because I have to focus on what I know. I'm focused on the economical part. You know, I have plans for the West End of Louisville, but in order to have those plans actually succeed, I have to obtain a certain amount of wealth to do that. I have to obtain a certain amount of power. There's
You
certain
got to
things
grind.
that have to be, because I don't know if I've told you, but my plans is I want to put it, like I said, I want to first of all petition that they sector off the West End as their own city. I want them to be able to have their own taxes, their own municipal cities, um, courthouse, all that. I want them to be a separate city, and I want them to bring some industries that are Black owned into the West End. I want them to truly revitalize the neighborhood. And the only way to do that is you have to pour money and resources into that neighborhood. So that's my goal. My goal is to tackle this politically. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like we need people that's doing all these different things on all different levels. So, yeah, we need our protesters and our marchers, but we can't have everybody focus on protesting and marching. We have to be doing more on all these other different fronts. We have to be doing more on the political side. We have to be doing more on the legislative side, more on the economical side. It's so much.
Education. There's just so much. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So it's just, and I think they should model that across the country, to really tackle all of those problems, and just having that second off. And honestly, I think the person who has the best plan to be able to do that, one was Grandmaster Jay, because he was working directly from Chancellor Williams' destruction of a Black civilization and the master plan. And I think another person was, Dr. Claude Anderson. So that's why I'm so adamant about, you all have to read these books, and you have to find out where you fit in. You got to get in where you fit in, because everybody doesn't fit in the same spot. Just like Star, she may not be a good fit for the economical side. She has to get in where she fits in. So I think if everybody would understand their role and get in where they fit in, and we all attack this at the same time on different, fronts,
The
they'll
Star's one of those anomalies, though. Star fits in
absolutely.
everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I truly believe she can wear about 6 or 7 different hats at the same time.
Amen. Hey, thank you so much for your time.
Oh,
Take your
that's no problem.
take your allergy meds and get some rest. Chill out for a while.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm about to lay it down for the night and prepare for my Sunday and Monday in the West End, and just I don't know, man. Just I really don't. I'm really not a very strong, faithful Christian. I'm not a Christian anymore, but just pray for my city, because we definitely need the prayers. It's definitely a sad story down here.
All right, brother. You take care of yourself. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
Always
Thank
a
you for having
pleasure.
me. Thank you.
And my pleasure. My pleasure. And the one and only Kemetic King. Normally you see him on EAR. Tonight he's on the American Dufus Show. We're talking reality, and totally respect the man. And, he knows what he's talking about. Appreciating him coming on. I'll be on tomorrow night live at 9 o'clock, Friday Night Live. So join me then with questions over what we've talked about over the past few days. And I look forward to that. Subscribe, like, share, comment, and hit the notify button. If you're interested in helping support the channel, $ American Dufus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS. And I love y'all. be a light. It's a dark, dark world, and a lot of stuff we got to take care of, or at least address and begin to take care of. And I hope tonight's episode was as impactful to you as it was to me. And thanks again to Kemetic King for joining us and for sharing. It's the American Dufus Show. I'm your host, Barry Welsh. Don't be a doofus. Until next time.